So hi, we're live here with Lauren. She's a doula and a yoga instructor, and she's going to talk to us about stress and immune response and how we can find our calm through breath work. All right, I think I'll hand it over to you now, Lauren.
Okay, hello, hi, my community. First off, I just wanted to say thank you to Natasha for putting this together. It's a very challenging time for everyone, and I think what's really been helpful for me and my family is to connect with others and to just really feel the support. We might not be able to be supporting one another face-to-face by maybe physical means, but we definitely can still be supporting one another with our voices, and that feels really good. So I guess that's what I wanted to talk today a little bit about, was for us to understand what we are feeling in terms of the sensations in our bodies. And then when we can really understand how our body is feeling, then that can allow us to then regulate our reactions and our responses to things. So a lot of us at this point in time, over the past few weeks, we might have been feeling stressed. Maybe that's even an understatement. Maybe your radar of your stress levels are just kind of like off the charts. And I wanted to provide you today with a few tools so that we can try to get that back into check, back into balance. So I used to be, before I started to become, or before I started teaching yoga, before I became a birth and fertility doula, I used to teach science, high school science. And before I taught high school science, I was doing research in the neurosciences. So I have an academic educational background in neuroscience and understanding the brain. And I like to see a lot of things kind of through that lens of what's going on in our brains when we're stressed. So just a brief, I won't make it too long, just a little brief neuroscience lesson, if you will, right? And when we are feeling stressed, what's happening in our body? So it's the branch of our nervous system. We have two branches, our central nervous system and our autonomic nervous system. The central nervous system is our brain and our spinal cord. And the autonomic nervous system is the branch of our nervous system that is comprised of all of the nerves. So it is the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. And when we look at this branch, the parasympathetic and sympathetic, this is what's responsible for when we feel stressed and when we feel relaxed. So the sympathetic nervous system is responsible for what we call the fight or flight response, which many of you might have heard of before, which is our stress response. And it's the parasympathetic nervous system that's responsible for our rest and digest response, otherwise known as more of our relaxation response. So what happens in our physical body when we're in really a dominant sympathetic nervous system response mode because of a potential predator in our environment? And the thing is that with the sympathetic nervous system, this is really kind of how this came about through evolution, is it's designed when we feel something that could be a predator that we need to flee from. When there is a danger present, we need to run away from it. So right now, we might not have a physical predator as an animal or a person that is making us feel in danger, but because there's so much uncertainty right now, because we might be under financial stress, because there are a lot of things that are out of our control right now, that basically is acting as a predator, which is then triggering our nervous system to react in the fight or flight response. That causes our heart to beat a little bit more quickly, that causes the blood circulation to move away from our digestive organs to go to more of the muscles to allow us to potentially run away. It makes us really warm, so you might have been feeling really like changes in temperature in your body over the past few weeks. And then it also, of course, I mean, the mental load of everything and, the wheels spinning in the mind, that is also a part of the stress response. When we're in the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response, well, then definitely that comes along with kind of pretty much all of the opposite of that. And I think we're all familiar with the feeling of being relaxed. If you think of when you have been on vacation, when maybe you've been to the spa or the hairdresser, or maybe just going for coffee with a friend, and we can all think of things that just make us feel really, because this kind of gives it that relaxation response in the body. So that's the goal right now, is when we find ourselves in this fight or flight, stress mode, how can we bring ourselves back into balance, into really achieving that relaxation state when we might not be able to do those things that we would normally do to bring us into relaxation. I wasn't sure, Natasha, did you want to am I just talking, or did you want to also add to what I'm saying, or was this like a back and forth?
Yeah, no, we can go back and forth a bit. Yeah, so one of the reasons I started this project with reaching out to folks that have all these different tools we can use to reduce our stress is, yeah, definitely, because we see it play into immunity. That's fairly well documented. And then also too, for anyone that has like underlying chronic pain, everyone that I was seeing last week while I was still open seeing urgent cases, they were having like massive headaches, or their back pain was acting up. And it was really this, their emotional stress was manifesting physically. So it's really important right now to focus on what we can control, and also to develop some self-care practices while we are at home to manage stress, so that when we come out of this, we're not falling apart, or at least not to a huge degree. But yeah, a few people I know have had like diverticulitis episodes too in the last week. Anything inflammation wise in the body is spiking for a lot of people right now. So I'm so glad you're here with us, so that we can talk about that a little bit more and give folks some tools so that they don't end up in that fight or flight panic mode. Like what one for example is, anyone that's had jaw pain in the past, I always call that the it's like you're getting ready to take a bite out of someone. So if you're really stressed out, you start to clamp down on your jaw, and then aside from having a really intense jaw pain, that can translate into neck pain, into headache. It's a big silent contributor to headaches. So so I'm so glad that you're here to share this with us.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into what I was saying before, in terms of trying to get everyone to notice over the next day, maybe after this talk, over the next few days, over the next week, to try to notice in your own body, to pay attention to what are the physical, like you said, manifestations of stress in your body, because we all know what it feels like when our again, the wheels of our mind are turning stress, but we all manifest stress in our body in different ways. And I'm very same. It's really in my neck and my shoulders, and I get headaches as well when I get stressed. And that's something that I, maybe 10 years ago, I didn't realize that it was because I was stressed. I just thought it was because, I don't know, right? We don't attribute it to things like stress, but it really does take a big physical toll on our bodies.
Yeah. That's a big part of too what we do with patients at the clinic, is we talk about dialing in, seeing when they are in a moment of stress, what is tightening up, or what they're feeling in their bodies, and then helping them to learn how to really let that go, so that they can stay mobile. And then, because if they're mobile and they're feeling better, then they can do all these other stress reduction or like inflammation lowering activities, like exercise, or being in the right mindset to even like cook and eat well. It's been really interesting to see, interesting and really hard to see too, just how people are responding physically during these wild times. And I found actually that I've been feeling pretty good, because I've kind of accepted that I don't have a lot of control. And that's very different than when I was in grad school and was having headaches all the time, jaw pain all the time, before I really dialed in and realized where that was coming from.
And I think when we're doing well, given the circumstances, I think it's often because we have a lot of coping mechanisms already well established, right? So I really find that the challenging time is calling on us to kind of go back, into our history, to be like, okay, at what point in my life was I under such stress, and how did I cope then, and how can I equip, and I like to talk about like a stress coping toolbox, right? So we need to tap tools into that toolbox unfortunately right now, a lot of those, tools in our toolbox, we might not have access to.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that's why I wanted today to talk about probably one of the most simple things that we can do to help manage our stress is by breathing. Breathing, something that we do all day long, but breathing being such an interesting phenomenon in the physical body, in the human body, because we can do it without conscious control, but we can also consciously control it. And that's the beauty about using the breath as a tool, that was funny, as a tool to manage us. Because we have it. We don't need to, we can do it from our home. We can do it when we're seated. We don't need any fancy equipment. We don't need someone to guide us through. So I'm going to teach you 2 different exercises today that then you can really do at any point in your day. By yourself, with your family, with your children. Even my kids are really great at I've taught them to breathe in, breathe out, and just doing that 3 times can feel good.
Oh, absolutely. And I know too, I've seen quite a lot of research around chronic pain and how we end up with disordered breathing, where we're using all these accessory muscles in the neck, which might be why that gets tight and you get headaches, and not using the diaphragm. So I think breathing is so important for anyone at any time. But a lot of people, until it's pointed out, they have no idea that they're just breathing, and it's adding to any discomfort they're experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what, right, when we feel stressed, often the breath gets caught, like you said, in the chest, the chest breathing, and it stays really high. It can also become rapid, the breath. So right, our breath is going to be a little bit faster. Also, when we can kind of tell in the breath that we're in our fight or flight mode, really, in that sympathetic nervous system, because the inhale is longer than the exhale. Yeah, so it's like, excuse me, the exhale is really short, and then that's also a sign that we're in our stress response. So one of the ways that we can actually activate the parasympathetic nervous system in the relaxation response is by increasing the length of our exhalations, and it's like one of the most simple things we can do.
So simple, but so powerful.
Okay, so is that a good segue to actually practice a few of these exercises?
Oh, and you know what? I think I just figured out how to go into speaker view. So thank you everyone for being patient with me. There we go. I think we're just seeing you now. We got a 20-second lag, but perfect.
Okay. No worries. Hi everyone. I was also thinking, Natasha, that you introduced me, but I don't actually think you introduced yourself.
That's all I'm learning. Okay, yeah, that's true. I should introduce myself. Okay. My name is Dr. Natasha Hayden. I'm a chiropractor practicing in, kind of between Notre Dame de Grasse, Côte d'Ivoire, a few other areas here in Montreal. And we've really been limited in how we can serve our patients this last couple of weeks for good reason. And as you mentioned, our toolkits are really limited. And for a lot of my patients that I see, chiropractic is definitely, and even community yoga class is definitely a big part of their stress management and managing chronic symptoms or those achy shoulders we get from working at the computer all day. So this was just really my way of engaging with the community. Well, I can't engage with them physically. So yeah.
Great. Okay, so if you're watching live, if you're gonna watch the replay later, we're gonna do the exercise right now. We'll do a few breathing exercises. So we don't need, like I said, any fancy tools. You just need to be seated. And you can be seated on a chair. Right now I'm on a chair. You can be seated on the floor. Ideally, you would be seated in a position though where I don't know if I can like lower. It's like my desk, so try to get the angle. So I'm just sitting at the edge of my chair right now. You can't really see it there, but it's just like right at the edge, so that you can, if you feel, wherever you're sitting right now, you can kind of just like wiggle around. If you wiggle around, you're gonna do it with me, Natasha?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually on my ball chair, which I love. So.
Okay. So if you just wiggle around, you can feel these 2 bones that are in your bum, and that's why I get you to wiggle around first. And those are what we call your sit bones. Yes. So it's part of the pelvis. at the bottom of the pelvis. And that's what we want to feel. We want to feel the sit bones, and that's why it's also nice to come to the edge of a chair. If you're seated, cross-legged, or you can even have your legs out. So really just sitting in any way that feels comfortable for you, but also allowing it to be a position where you can have a long spine. So not maybe leaning back against a wall or on your couch. When we sit up straight, then this allows for more space in the abdomen, and then this is going to allow our lungs to have a little bit more space to really truly expand and fill up with air. Okay. So when I do breathing exercises, I like to do them with my eyes closed. I find it's really helpful just to really be able to focus on the sensations, because really it's an exercise like any other. When we're learning how to breathe in a new way, it's as if you were learning a new skill, like a new language, like playing the piano, an instrument, right? We're really learning to train our muscles in a new way. When we learn a new language, we're learning how to train our brain in a new way. So it makes it easier to do when we close our eyes, because then we can really feel the sensations. But I'm not going to ask you to close your eyes just yet, because we're just going to do a fun exercise first. So just place your hands wherever they feel comfortable on your legs. So it might be on your knees, it might be on your thighs. I'm trying to see too if I can get a better image. I have to, I guess, sit back a little bit more. There we go. Okay.
That's perfect.
My hands are on my thighs. Okay. I'm sitting at the edge of my chair. And just look in front of you and just find a point to focus on right now. That's like really right in front of you. And then see if you can now use your peripheral vision to start to look at things that might be more in the periphery. All right, so you can be focusing on a point in front of you, but at the same time, you can also be seeing objects that are in your periphery, and maybe even name them right now. So what do you see in your periphery? You can just say that. You're at home, so you can say it out loud. You can just say it to yourself in your head. And when we do this right away starts to initiate the relaxation response, just by taking our vision out of this really focused gaze and then allowing it to soften to look at our periphery. And then once you've done that, you're already kind of feeling maybe yourself relaxing in your body a little bit, maybe noticing your breath a little bit more. And then I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And just let the eyelids sit softly on the eyes. And we're going to start just by noticing the natural state of our breath. So without trying to change your breath in any way at this time, just being observant, noticing where you feel your breath in your body. So you might feel it predominantly in one location. You might notice as you're breathing, and just listen to the sound of my voice. Allow the sound of my voice to be soothing as we do this exercise all together. It'll be about 5 minutes of having our eyes closed. And you might feel your breath in your chest. You might feel the breath in your belly. Just noticing right now where you feel your breath. So this is one good piece of information that we can equip ourselves with. In our natural state, where do you feel your breath? And then another observation you can make is, what is the length of your inhalation relative to your exhalation? So just take a few breaths, again, trying not to change it. And just noticing right now, is the inhalation the same length as the exhalation? Or is the inhalation longer than your exhalation? Or is the inhalation shorter than your exhalation? So again, there is no good or bad right now. There is no right or wrong. There's simply what is. So right now we are just observing our body in its state as it is. Now that you have that information about your breath in this moment, we're now going to start to work with the breath, play with the breath. I forgot to mention that if ever you don't feel safe with the eyes closed, this doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can also just have a very gentle gaze on your eyes, maybe looking at a particular point, the gentle tuck of the chin under. So I'm now going to invite you to bring your hands onto your lower belly. So the hands, the lower abdomen, could even be closer to the belly button. So doesn't have to be a precise location, but just on the belly, wherever the hands feel comfortable. And we're going to do about 5 cycles of breath, where we're really trying to encourage the breath into the lower abdomen. So inhale, try to really push out the belly with the inhalation, and then exhale, let it fall. We're going to do this 4 more times. Inhale, really feel an expansion in the belly. And then exhale, allow there to be a softening. And continuing on your own rhythm. So right now I'm speaking quite slowly. If breathing at this rate makes you feel shortness of breath, we don't want that. So just trying to find a pace of inhale into the belly and then softening on the exhale, a pace that feels good for you. We're going to do this a few more times. And seeing if you can find some ease in this action of filling out your belly, without trying to force it too much. And last time, into the belly. And then after this exhalation, I'm going to bring our hands onto our rib cage. So if ever you want to just open your eyes gently, just to check in with me to see if you're doing the right thing. So just the hands on the rib cage so we can now feel our ribs. And then you can close the eyes gently or gentle gaze again. And now when we breathe in, we're going to notice what's happening with our rib cage. And we're going to really try to allow the ribs to expand upwards and outwards as we inhale. And then the rib cage comes down to the midline and kind of retracts on the exhale. So again, it might take you a few breaths if this is new to you to start to get into a rhythm. Again, not trying to force it too much. Any slight movement of the ribs is good enough. And about 3 more times, still focusing on the feeling of the ribs. And when we really notice what's happening in our physical body, in our bones, and our organs, it really allows us to have an anchor for the mind. So it takes our mind, it takes our thoughts out of thinking mode and into feeling mode. And this is also helpful to initiate the relaxation response. Let's do 1 more breath here into the rib cage, feeling that expansion, that filling up on the inhale, and then a softening on the exhale. And then after the next exhalation, gently remove the hands from the rib cage, and we're going to place them up towards the heart, the chest. So this is a really nice position to place our hands, and if you feel like your hands are like up near your throat, just bring them down a little bit so that it's really at the place of your heart. And just sometimes when we place our hands on our heart, and I open my eyes and I saw Natasha's smile there, it can feel so good, letting our hands be healing. We can do a lot of our own healing, all on our own. So just the feeling of the hands on the heart here. Just notice how that makes you feel. And just feeling the breath now. We don't want to force the breath only into the chest. We're just taking a few breaths where now you notice the difference. So if you do now only breathe into your chest, You might notice that it feels a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe it feels good because that's what you're used to doing. So again, a lot of this type of activity is about just taking a quiet moment to notice how it makes us feel. Maybe even bring a gentle smile onto the face if this is making you feel good. Smiles are also good for our nervous system. And then take one hand now off of the heart. So we'll have one hand near the chest and heart and one hand on the belly. Okay? And now this is the final synthesis part of the breathing exercise, where we're going to try to breathe in 2 parts, or 3 parts rather. So it's inhaling first into the hand on your belly, and then allowing the rib cage to expand, but leaving the hands there. Feel the rib cage expand, and then feel the breath come up to the chest. And then let the belly fall, and the rib cage draws toward the midline, and then the chest falls. You inhale to the base of the belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, belly, ribs, chest. Inhaling on 1, 2, 3. Exhaling, 1, 2, 3. So we'll do this about 4 more times. Inhaling, low belly, ribs, chest. Exhaling, belly, ribs, chest. Trying to do that a few more times on your own rhythm, maybe even counting to yourself. So when you're going to do this at home on your own without my guidance, you might want to count for yourself. That can help with the rhythm. Count to 3 is nice, and you can count as slow or as fast as you need to so that this practice feels good. So let's do 1 more in this way. And then keeping the eyes closed, or the gentle gaze on the eyes, just let the hands fall down to the thighs, to the knees, wherever they feel comfortable. And before we open the eyes, before we come out of this breathing exercise, we call it a pranayama in yoga. Just taking a few breaths now normally, and just taking this moment to notice how you feel. Notice if there's been a shift, any change since when you first began, right before we did the exercise. And then know that any change or any shift you might be feeling right now this is due to the effects of this breathing exercise, of the pranayama. So it's quite powerful. And then when you feel ready, you can gently open your eyes. Maybe even take a big breath in, and then you might want to move your arms. And this is a point if you were doing a yoga practice with me that we'd start to do some movement, right? And you might have even felt yourself as you were doing the breathing exercise that you kind of wanted to start to move. But we're gonna keep this to just breathing for today. But if anybody wants more tools for movement and yoga practice, then you can follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, send me a personal message. I've been offering free 20-minute calls to anybody and everybody in my community right now, just to talk, to offer support, because that's what I do as a birth doula, as a fertility doula, as a mother, as a friend, as a wife. Support is so important for our mental health in this time.
All right, thank you so much. That was, I feel more relaxed.
Feel good.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned how you are available, because I think we had not talked about that yet.
Yeah. So I was going to do, I said I was going to do 2 different exercises. I don't know if we want to keep on going, if we want to do a second one, or I feel like that one was quite comprehensive. What do you think?
It's up to you. We could end with breathing today, and then maybe for, I don't know if it makes more sense that if we want to get together next week and then kind of do that separately, because that might be more accessible. Because then if you want to just do breathing, I'm going to create a page where you can access all these tools, and then the mindful movement could be something else, because this is so portable, the breathing. You could do it wherever you are.
Yeah, great. I think that's good, because I also like, when we're looking to incorporate new tools into our toolbox and to actually use them, I find personally right now that's what I'm finding a bit overwhelming, is there's just, it comes from a good place. Everyone in the wellness industry wants to be helping right now.
Yes.
But I just find it's a little bit overwhelming because there's just so much out there. And then it's just like, well, where to start? Like, which one to choose? And so I think it's nice when, there's a really simple tool like this one, practice it today. When you start to notice, right, be aware of how you're feeling in your chest, right? If you start to feel again, kind of this downward spiral of your thoughts kind of going to a dark place, just catch yourself before you go there, and maybe just bring this practice again. Just sit, put your hands on your body. The hands on the body is really important. You might be able to do it on your own with the hands down, but what the hands on the body does is it really, again, helps anchor our mind into these physical sensations, which helps that kind of, again, the monkey mind, the downward spiral of the negative thoughts.
Yeah, it's very centering, or I guess grounding, you might say, hey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I think let's just keep it with one thing at a time. I know we have a lot of time on our hands.
Do another one next week.
Yeah.
Again next week, and we'll do another one.
Yeah, and so I guess I should add, again, this is all new for me, so thanks for being patient for all technical difficulties and format issues. I have confirmed with Sylvia of Rock the Cradle Doulas. We don't know what her topic is yet, or she's probably messaging me about it while we're on this, but she's going to be speaking with us live Monday at noon. And I have a sleep expert that's speaking with us sometime next week, as well as an integrative psychologist. So those topics and dates are to be determined. Well, we have one date and a topic. We're just reaching out and trying to share tools, because we're, as healthcare workers, we're really here to serve. And so for those of us that can't do it physically right now, we're just trying to connect to you in the ways that we have available to us. So very grateful for the internet these days.
Yes, thank you, internet, for being the one that's holding up.
Yes. Yeah, actually my partner is part of Team Rogers, so he's a part of making sure we all have functioning internet right now, and he's doing it from home. So thank you, Simon, for keeping us all connected. Yeah.
And maybe another next time. I wanted to try to get my kids to come in, because I've been teaching them breathing over the past few weeks. And different little yoga poses, but when I asked them if they wanted to be on TV this morning, they were like, no, mommy.
Hey, that's good. Consent's good, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to respect their answer.
Yeah. It would be really fun, because I mean, as you know, also there's so many that are home with kids, and everyone is, having their own struggles and wins in terms of managing all of that. I mean, I have to say it's been kind of fun to see clips from the Justin Trudeau where he's like, I'm on an important phone call, I can't play right now. So it's affecting all of us. If you're a G7 meeting, or maybe you're just trying to do a Zoom call one-to-one, it's been challenging for all of us. And I've loved watching the science experiments you're doing with your kids, or the yoga you're doing with them. So if they want to join, that would be so fun. I would love that.
We'll try. Yeah. There's just a little bit, like, children are unpredictable, so it would definitely be a different type of call.
Yeah, of course.
Children, like, playing, it's a toy for them, so they'll just kind of be like making faces in the camera.
Yeah, well, when you and I chatted earlier in the week, one of your kids was on, I can't remember which one was on with us, and said hi, super friendly, and yeah, it was fun. You were watching a movie. Yeah. Alrighty. All right. So I think we'll probably see a lot more comment or connection when I go ahead and post this. I don't see any comments right now, but yeah, I'm gonna turn off recording, and thank you so much for listening, whether it's live or later, and we'll see you Monday. We'll be talking to Sylvia of Rock the Cradle. All right. Thank you so much, Lauren. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.